Good evening. Godzilla vs. Kong has finally arrived, bringing with it many of the things fans wanted to see. It's a film that boasts spectacular monster fights in a variety of unique scenarios. Gone are the days of 15-second bouts and cutting away from the action. If you came looking for a battle between two of cinema's most iconic monsters, bring an extra pair of pants. On a personal level, I saw many of the things I'd been bitching about in past reviews finally brought to the big screen. I saw the Godzilla I know and love, not giving a shit about collateral damage, biting and clawing like a wild animal, getting off on his own awesomeness. I saw Kong using his agility and intelligence against Godzilla's range and raw power. I saw fights in the daylight without the need to interrupt with unnecessary human drama, for the most part. I even have newfound respect for Kong. They managed to give him enough character to have an emotional investment with. Check him out popping his shoulder back into place. What a champ. I honestly wish that the series could have begun with monster fights of this caliber. Instead of holding back to build suspense, they should have come out guns blazing. Of course, I'll cover that more specifically in the next part of my Godzilla 2014 review. But my point is that I think we can all agree that if we started with this Godzilla, the franchise would be in much better shape. This film has the highest opening box office of the pandemic for a reason. It marketed a monster fight, and fucking delivered. Even Mechagodzilla, whose design I'm not the biggest fan of, still maintained the same level of badass that his legacy called for. He was absolutely no pushover, and never stopped feeling like a threat. The incorporation of Ghidorah in his design also gave his assault on Godzilla more of a personal feel. I have to say, this is the first showdown in the MonsterVerse Godzilla films that I truly respect. I've been waiting on a memorable American Godzilla fight my whole life, and I can honestly say I've seen it now. Because of its predecessors, I was worried that this film would go out with a whimper. Boy, I'm glad I was wrong. Alright. Now that I've given you my positives, let's start the real review. If you don't like negative opinions, here's your last chance to tap out. Tap or no tap?
Here's the clicker. No one would blame you.
They gone? Good. Now what the fuck happened? As much as I enjoyed the fights, especially the ones the trailers didn't completely spoil, I absolutely hated the other 97% of this movie. All the human characters are either flat or flat out annoying. The entire plot is propelled by convenience and contrivance. There is no real logic to any of the film's goings-on, and things just happen when the movie needs them to. This movie encapsulates putting spectacle before the story. Speaking of story, it almost feels as if the events of the previous films have been completely ignored. Whether it's ignoring the fact that the world was reduced to rubble only 3 years prior, forgetting about the events of past movies.
Anti-gravity engines alone produced enough charge to light up Vegas for a week.
Or even acknowledging the relationships to the characters in previous films. All of that world building tossed aside to pave the way for a plot that feels like a series of tubes, with characters sent on a specific course based on the slimmest of justifications or flat-out shots in the dark. As much as I applaud the creators on what is truly an epic monster rumble, I can't forgive, God, just all of it. The fact that half the cast are awkward weirdos desperately grasping for laughs, the nonsensical concepts cutting the cords of any suspension of disbelief, that god-awful wannabe Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack. Awesome Mix Volume Boo. Ugh. Reminded me of Val Kilmer's awful singing.
Well, I dreamed I saw the knight in armor coming, saying something about...
The monster fights in this movie are gems, but the writers gave them to us at the bottom of a jar of salt and barbed wire.
Ah! Ow! Ow! Why do you keep these things together?
I'm afraid I'm still pulling punches on this movie. Unlike King of the Monsters, there's parts of this movie I like, which is making it hard to give it both barrels. You know what? Thinking of the movie in its entirety is like a fever dream. Let me recall some specifics. Remember when the Death Girl was better than Sonar? Remember when Monarch sacrificed a fleet when they could just airlift the motherfucker the whole time? Remember when Kong climbed up from the center of the Earth in a matter of minutes? Remember how there's sunlight in the hollow Earth? Remember the Monarch director? There he is for 5 seconds. Would have loved to have heard more from him. Remember Ren Serizawa? What the fuck? Why even name him Serizawa if he never mentions the previous one? Holy shit. Is this what the writers thought would salvage King of the Monsters? Hell of a game plan. You know what? Let's do it. I am ready for this. Let's go charging into part 1. Who's with me?